it's actually a really negative thing as far as letting politicians display religious beliefs, mainly on an international perspective, because you have so many other countries of so many different viewpoints. If they see one politician using his own religion passionately to actually gain votes, stuff like that, that's why, like, for many years, our founding fathers actually tried to display that we weren't a specific religion in any way, so we could actually gain support in areas like Africa, the Middle East, and stuff like that. When you have like Islamic regimes very anti-Christian, I guess you could say, it's really troublesome if you have any kind of display of Christianity and stuff.
Okay, excellent point. The rifle.
I kind of think it's inevitable for religion and politics to just clash together. Because no matter what kind of government it is, the people eventually influence the leaders. And no matter what you do, some kind of religion will stand there. People will question what's going on. They will have difficulties. And when they do have difficulties, they'll look for some higher force to help them. And no matter what the higher force does, it'll have some influence in what goes on in the country.
So you think that the mixing of civil and religious power is kind of inevitable, no matter what the law might say? Okay. Magician, so I think it's not
one, it's kind of not really an RPG or anything like that, but Halo, honestly, if you look deeper into it, there's a lot of political in that, when it's mixing political and religion. It's very negative because they are not telling, the covenant is not telling their followers about what they're trying to achieve, which is basically killing everything, even themselves, but it's just a very good way of representing how politics can be greatly thrown forward through the use of religion, but it can become corrupt because of that religion.
Okay. One thing I'm curious about, if anybody knows an example, can anyone think of a video game in which a religion, not a real religion, not a video game in which there are actual angels walking around, but in which there is just a religion practiced by the population that is portrayed positively? Can anyone think of any sort of example of that? You.
In all the Harvest Moon games, there's always a church and it never says anything horrible. It's just a place of worship. You go to get married there. If a funeral happens, they go to worship. You go worship there, and they just worship peacefully and go on with their life.
The church army doesn't come burn down your farm or anything like that.
I've not seen that happen.
All right, good. I heard it in the third game, but maybe not. Okay, and then one more. You, sir.
This is like really just a stretch on this one. Diablo. I mean, seriously?
Elaborate, please.
Well, they all have a church, and the churches, they have one, it's all one religion. They don't ever mention that there's more than one religion. And you're always fighting alongside the church to save the world from the demon hordes that are going to destroy everything. So therefore, technically speaking, that one, they never show the church as going, and actually asking for money or taking things from people. No, they just like, there's demons over there, we're gonna go kill them. And we're gonna save y'all. Peace.
Okay.
So like I said, it's a stretch, but that's the best one I can think of.
All right.
I'm going to contend that with this. There are multiple religious orders in the Diablo universe, especially if you look at the priests on the religions, the monks, and how they understand religions, and considering if you have any demons, but the churches, they do get corrupted. Yikes. Yeah, Lazarus and whatnot. Hell, I agree with Diablo too. It was the entire spent fighting the corrupt paladins on.
Okay, well, I guess we should move on at this point. And now we're going to talk about rights. And the first subject will be taxation. And yes, I did find a video game that had themes about taxation. So I managed to work a single economic issue in this presentation. So we are going to be talking about taxation in Breath of Fire 3. In Breath of Fire 3, the characters in the beginning of the game live on a farm village where all of the citizens complain of taxes being high. And they see the luxury that the government officials are living in, so they conspire to steal back the tax money from the townspeople, and they redistribute it equally to everyone who had paid the taxes to begin with. When the government gets wind of this, they are assaulted and left for dead. They appeal to the citizens for help, and all of them refuse to stick up for them and surrender the money back to the government after seeing the violent reprisals that have come back. A real-life example, in 2007, 2 New Hampshire citizens refused to pay up and said, we're not going to pay this. And armed SWAT teams surrounded their house and forced them out of gunpoint. And these illustrate an interesting thing that a lot of people may not think about when it comes to taxation of free society. Without taxing anyone, the government obviously cannot run, because it would have no money to enforce the law or anything like that. However, taxation is by nature violent. If someone refuses, they are eventually put in jail, or if they resist further, they're eventually killed. Otherwise, if somebody said, I don't want to pay their taxes, there would be nothing that can be done about it. So there is this inherent threat. If you don't pay your taxes, violence will be used against you. So, as a philosophical question, I would like to pose to you, does anyone here think that taxation, any sort of taxation, is irreconcilable with a philosophy of political nonviolence? Mr. with the cat ears.
Absolutely.
Really? Okay, excellent. Do you agree that it is? Does anyone think you can say, I support taxation, but I am a completely nonviolent person? You, sir.
Yeah, like, I support, like, taxation, but the problem is, like, it's, like, they shouldn't use, like, violence or anything. It would be much simpler than just denying them the services that tax you out.
Okay, all right. I see what you're saying. So essentially anyone can kill you or steal your things, you would have no police protection,
Yeah.
but you wouldn't have to pay. Okay,
They
that,
would directly use violence, but you wouldn't be protected from it.
that is a very interesting solution to the issue. You would simply make it optional to pay. Okay? You have.
I think that especially in American society, there's no way you can reconcile pacifism and taxation, considering how much of our tax money does go to fund the military. Even if you opt out of, even if you don't want to pay taxes and don't want, because you don't want to receive some sort of Medicare, Social Security, or something like that, something like 25% of our budget is already just allocated to military resources. Here, it's just, it's a channel that our taxes go to.
Okay, all right. That's very interesting.
We're going to talk about militarization of
Yes,
society.
we will.
Well, the issue of taxation is something that was, this issue you're talking about right now was taken on by one of our very first Chief Justices, Marshall. In the case where he had to do with taxation, whether states have the right to tax or the government has the right to tax, it was decided that the government, the central government, reserves the right to destroy, which does involve the right to tax. And that is something that you have to deal with. It's part of the social contract of being in a state that has a government. In order to get the protections the government provides, you need to give up your rights, such as the right to destroy others and other people.
Okay, so do you think that you should be able to opt out of that contract if you so desire?
You cannot, simply because of all the different things the taxes go to. I mean, it'd be easy to say, oh, the police don't, like, it doesn't just go to the police, it doesn't just go to that, it goes to the road system, it goes to
Live in a shack with no water, no drive?
How would they prevent you from using the roads or something like that? I mean, taxes are an inevitable thing that has to happen for a government to sustain itself. You don't know what the taxes go to.
Okay. Okay. We should take one more. This gentleman over here.
I feel like there's a perfect example in Fallout New Vegas, where you start out in a town that's not controlled by the local public, and the next town you go to is been burned down by marauders. And a lot of different towns do or don't want to join the republic because the taxes are so high they don't feel like they're being spent on things. But there is the looming threat of being destroyed. And so there's a lot of specific cases in that game of what it is or isn't.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Excellent. And we're going to move on now.
Next, we're going to talk about slavery versus Marxist revolution in England. I call this area of our presentation proletariat. The second Mega Man is an industrial mecca. Humans rule and robots work. The bio is in the details. It is unknown. The quality of life the robots enjoy, legal protection, governmental representation, or what the villain, Dr. Wiley, should he never take over the world, what his proposed new society would be. There are a few clues, although. Unlike an earlier game where He approaches a group of expired Autobots in Mega Man 9 and argues that they have the right to live. Very interesting for his sincerity is obviously suspect, but in many depictions, Wily shows his fondness for robots and their efficiency over humans, and prefers robot control over human control, although he ruled robots. Marx's theory derives from people's relationship with the means of production. Marx argued that before capitalism, laborers used the means of production to create product. In capitalism, the means of production owned by the bourgeoisie owns the laborers. Thus, the bourgeoisie determines how wealth is distributed. This is intensified when the means of production and laborers are one and the same and are owned by the higher class. Robots make communism possible, possibly work as a shortcoming of communist societies is their inability to account for human nature. Light has an affection for robots, but favors the status quo of human rule and robot subjugation. Dr. Light and Dr. Wile's altercation is in a real way a class struggle between human and robotic rule. There's only one character who transcends this class struggle, and his name is not Karl Marx. Perfect. These are a few real permanent quotes. I live as a rich man's all my life is none of my business. That's from Mega Man 2 Power Fighters. Robots are machines that follow orders, and a robot that doesn't. So what does that make me? That's from Proto Man in Mega Man Powered Up. Proto Man is the first humanoid robot with independent thought and reasoning. After his creation, Dr. Light discovered a dangerous energy imbalance that would eventually kill him. Light attempted to fix him, and Proto Man refused and fled, believing that he would change his independent personality. Throughout the series, he resists Wily and retains a distrust of Light, keeping a strong sense of his independence and his rights. Proto Man, more than Mega Man, can be seen as a freedom fighter, an advocate for robot equality. He seeks not to rule, but refuses to be ruled. So, let me ask you, do robot masters have natural rights, or are they property? And
It depends on if the robot can think. If the robot is independent, then the robot should have rights.
do you think Mega Man can think?
Yeah.
So,
He's capable of that.
okay, so he's a slave.
That brings up the question: what is considered intelligence?
Is Dr. Light supporting slaves, protecting the slave state? Is that what
Yeah. I'll try to make this as quick as possible. I actually came to a conclusion on this one in particular. I saw a bumper sticker that said, if animals could talk, we would all be vegetarians. And I absolutely agree with it. I'm not a vegetarian. But I came to the conclusion that animals can talk, obviously have the ability to abstract and think on a more or less human level.
Yeah.
Now, with that in mind, if robots are capable of the same thing, then if you kill a robot, I honestly believe it's murder.
Okay, so they do have rights in the main.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and not just that many of the robot masters can use her.
The way I kind of viewed the Mega Man series at the very beginning, they are slaves. As you evolve into the X series, it becomes more of the robots, and they have more of their own rights. And as it goes on to the ZX, the Zero series, you find that they grow to be more ethical, more equal.
So you think that they always deserve rights, but
They always deserve rights, but it's
okay.
a struggle over time.
Yeah, no, okay, that's interesting. You're there as a
It's not exactly Mega Man, but I think it kind of fits in as well. In the Mass Effect series, the Geth, their struggle, they don't really want to destroy they don't want to destroy the Quarry. They just want to break away from them, be free. And instead, they're viewed as just these monsters that are just horrible products of science.
really transition. I got to Ocelot.
I think it is double back to the point I don't mind, but I think what we're arguing, for example, issue of personhood. At what point do we give rights based on rights for freedom based on individual thought and processing? Like, okay, so I think the argument
thing just to tie into this that I don't know if it's been brought up before past panels, but Magman Dragoon from the Mega Man X series is like the perfect example of this, and I feel like you guys need to put this in your thing because he literally says when you come to fight him, he goes, "I do not want to have anything to do with you guys. Please leave me alone. I want to live in my volcano. Just why are you trying to follow me?" And X goes like, "I have to destroy you. Like that's my job."
Yeah. We're actually about to talk about
So that's probably about Mega Man X.
We missed it last time.
Not quite that, but almost.
Yes,
Yeah.
well, a little sort of. It has to do with, I mean, he is part of what we're going to talk
He's the
about.
perfect example.
No, yeah.
He's like the most vocal Reploid I think in that whole series.
We are, I know he's one of the Street Fighter moves.
Yes.
Hadouken. Yes. Hadouken. Shoryuken. I don't know. Okay, now we're going to be talking about Mega Man X and the right of secession. Secession is defined by Wikipedia as the act of withdrawing from a political entity. It has historically been a subject of great contention among political philosophers. In the United States, public perception of the issue may be a little biased, as the only significant instance of secession in U.S. history involved slavery, incorrectly or not, as a, by which I mean the public perception of slavery as a cause, not slavery itself, as a central determinant. However, secession remains a relevant issue in Northern Ireland and some post-communist and Eastern European states. I said secession. Slavery? Or slaves in Northern Ireland?
They're called leather.
In the... Why is your hand up, sir? This better be good.
Well,
I'm teasing.
the reason why the American Civil War happened, slavery, like the slavery issue was second to South Carolina.
Yeah, I know that slavery was not the be-all, end-all cause. That's why I mentioned that it is, but you cannot deny that in terms of public perception, slavery
why it happened
was the cause of the Civil War. I'm sure you all remember that Simpsons episode. You know, what caused the Civil War? What were the causes? Just say Simpsons. So in the Mega Man X series, intelligent robots with free will, known as Reploids, have been developed by humans. Initially, they're used for labor, but they eventually become full citizens. And tensions between humans and Reploids begin to grow as they want more and more rights. In the fourth game, Mega Man X4, a group of Reploids is accused of a grievous crime. Rather than protest, they opt to peacefully secede from human society, forming their own nation of Reploids. They only want to be left alone. They do not want to interact with human society anymore. They believe that they are justified in doing so in order to secure their civil rights. The humans, as well as other Reploids in their employ, object to this and attempt to stop them by force. This culminates in many destructive battles, and their secession attempt ultimately fails. Overall, the game portrays secession as a misguided attempt to fix the larger problem of ethnic and cultural divisions. So the question I would pose to you is, do you think that secession can ever be justified? If, for example, tomorrow, all of the citizens of, say, Montana decided by a completely democratic vote that they wanted to form their own nation and withdraw from the United States, should it be permitted or should military force be used to prevent secession? You may.
I think military force will always be used to try and prevent it, but we can't say, especially living here, that secession should never be allowed.
Okay, so you think that it is ethically permissible?
I think it's ethically permissible. It's how we have our nation.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mr. in the top half.
I was going to say, yeah, I believe that secession should be permissible. I mean,
Okay.
no government's going to permit it, but
Living here in Sandusky.
What about Sandusky?
She said living, especially living here in Sandusky, you can't say that. Secession should be allowed.
This did kind of seem like it was surrounded by like a bunch of nothing when I was driving here. So I can see this place like we have the water park. You may come if you want.
Yeah, we have a water park and see your point.
Yes, exactly. What more do we need?
Yeah.
Outside that.
Yeah, no.
We have public transportation and it's water slide.
As you, sir.
It's more complicated. A lot of these ethical issues are broken down to really simple cases. You know, we have a group of people that disagree with this group
Montana has something that's really, really valuable for the whole state, and you would want to fight to keep it. You know, the state has interest. If the only difference between every single state is like a self-contained, you know, manufacturing, agricultural center or can sustain itself without a problem, if Montana had nothing to offer except people who thought differently than us, there'd be no reason to fight to keep it. So it's always becoming more complicated the bigger it goes to be taxed.
Okay, so you think that economic issues and resources are in consideration. Okay, Preston.
Basically going back to what Cheater just said, you know, obviously, while I agree that it should be allowed, you know, and we should be like, oh, you want to succeed, fine, peace out. You know, truth is, there's never going to be a time where a state, again, we're going to go ahead and use Montana again as an example.
You know, use New Jersey. Yeah, everyone was like, yeah, New Jersey wants to go, you know, we can saw it off and just go on.
We actually have New Jersey written down.
Yes, I know, and I'm like, I can't say New Jersey.
I mean, everyone's like, New Jersey, of course.
So, you know, if Montana, you know, wanted to say, screw her out, you know, the only way they're going to be able to do it is if they also then turned around and had the military force to basically say, yeah, you want to take us back, come and bring it, you know, and actually be able to defend themselves. Okay. And that's something that any group that wants to succeed from a country has to be able to do, because otherwise they're going. I mean, that's how we managed to succeed originally from England.
Do you think it's ethical to do so, though?
It depends on the circumstances. There's always going to be a reason. And, well, let's face it, history is written by the winners of wars. It is not written by the losers.
That's true.
So, I mean, because if, you know, if World War II would have turned out differently and Hitler would have won and taken over, you know, we'd all be sitting, a few that should probably be alive, would all be sitting thinking that Hitler's the greatest person ever, and blah, blah, blah.
Hitler is the greatest person.
But because the Americans won, Hitler's the most evil son of a bitch alive. Ever lived.
Well, yeah, it's a little bit more.
But you get where
you heard it from the president here first.
You get where.
That's ask you to leave. Your views are making me uncomfortable.
Jewish, bro. I think I will discontinue my newsletter.
Okay, you said.
Actually, if Montana were to say that they wanted to see, I think military force would be used because that does kind of throw up the Republican-Democratic balance.
It's in the best interest.
Yeah. Okay, Rainbow Dash.
Actually, I would like to say that don't feel like the military would necessarily get involved. I feel like it depends exactly on who is in the government and what exactly people think.
Note that I'm not asking if the military would get involved, but whether it is ethical for a group to elect to secede.
Ethical-wise, I suppose it would depend. If there are completely different ideological views, like if, I don't know, like Montana, like somehow wanted to bring back like the enslavement of people, which I don't even remember if that was.
And seriously, you don't think our government would get involved?
It would.
Maybe,
I feel like there would
maybe
be involved.
Canterlot wouldn't get involved if Ponyville wanted to secede.
No, what I'm saying is, ethical-wise, people got like completely off the tangent, people brought in the military, but ethical-wise, it would depend on what exactly the secession reasons were, and then ask for like whether the government would get involved with the secession.
Okay.
I actually don't think
It is very interesting to think about the reasons for secession, because, for example, if a state wanted to institute slavery or something else that should be considered violating the rights of its citizens, would it be ethical to stop them? Which then raises the further question, what if, say, Mexico started doing that? Would it be ethical to stop them, even though they're not part of this other country? But unfortunately, we do not have time for all of these
if the land is owned by the United States government, then they would probably have to buy it out from them.
Okay.
And if they went through that route, it'd probably be
Like
like,
a private land.
right.
Yeah, so can I have my house, can I succeed in my house from Ohio?
Well, the issue becomes when you're outside of the country, there would be a staging ground for an invading country, just to compete. And then the airspace required to get to your country is owned, that's,
Yeah.
you just need to go to the edge, I think.
Yeah. But no, that's, I'm just, using what he says, bring up a level.
We have to move on at this point. So,
Yeah, next subject we're going to deal with are forms of government. And one of the most prevalent forms of government featured in video games is monarchy. Despite being a modern industry, the creators of many video games have turned into idealized or archaic forms of government, such as feudalism or monarchy. In the Mario series, the Mario series' goal is the restoration of the Mushroom Kingdom and the rescue of Princess Peach. Although the usurper is the king himself, King Koopa. He recognizes the legitimate monarchy path to power, since he means to marry the Princess Peach and become king. There is also no debate over whether Bowser is the legitimate leader of the Koopas. He simply is king. In the Legend of Zelda series, the Legend of Zelda series of games, the protagonist is similarly attempting to restore the monarchy. This time, however, the enemy is from a low-born race of desert brigands, empowered by a unique sword and magical ability. The protagonist Link is also aided by fairies and other magical elements, suggesting that the monarchy is supported by something beyond. This mirrors Jean Moulins' divine right of kings, a theory in early European history that suggests that the king is subject to no earthly authority, since he was ordained by God. Although this is clearly the utilization of basic fantasy and literary themes, the lack of doubt about the government and the protagonists about the government that the protagonists are restoring is in itself a political message. Another instance is governments of unbridled freedom, which is displayed in the Objectivist series. Objectivism in the Bioshock series. Objectivism is a philosophy dealt with heavily there. One of the most overtly political games of recent times is Bioshock. Influenced heavily by political writers such as George Orwell and directly by Ayn Rand, it was seen as an examination of Rand's philosophy. Objectivism holds that reality exists independent of consciousness, that humans have direct contact with reality through sense perception, that the proper moral purpose for one's life is the pursuit of one's own happiness through or rational self-interest, and that the only social system consistent with this morality is full respect for individual rights embodied in a laissez-faire capitalism. In Bioshock, the industrialist Andrew Ryan is an objectivist proponent and ideologue. So much so that he creates a new city and society at the bottom of the Atlantic called Rapture. Although Rapture was originally